All right. So what are we gonna talk about? First of all, there's gonna be an introduction of ITSM and ITIL. So I have a short agenda set up. In the agenda, what you're gonna see is that we're gonna discuss the topics about what is IT service management, and I put IT here within brackets because it's more about service management, where IT plays a really important role. We're going to speak about the history of ITIL, what the business need for ITIL is, or the business need for service management, and ITIL especially, and what the curriculum will be for the ITIL trainings we prepared for Gian. Um, like Nadia stated before, if there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask them during or afterwards this session. So I don't mind if whenever there are questions, you can unmute your mic or you can just put it down into the chat box. We'll be monitoring those chat boxes, so it's good to have this session a bit more interactive than normally. So let's start off then with Pink Elephant. The Pink Elephant organization itself is a worldwide consulting and training organization, and we deliver trainings. We help organizations to implement best practices, because it's more than only knowledge sharing. We are using the different phases within a transaction, which is the adopt, adapt, and apply phase. Adopt phase is more about speaking the same language, and this is the reason why we are here right now. It's good that we all understand what ITIL is and what are the words we're using in ITIL and how can we explain it to each other. So that's in the adopt phase. In the adapt phase, it's more that we're going to see how can we adjust, how can we make this best practice, if it's ITIL or it's lean or agile, whatever it is. How can we adapt it to your organization? Because your organization is not a standard organization worldwide. In fact, there is no standard organization worldwide, so adaptation always is needed. And the last phase is apply, because it's good that we have a new way of working set up in an organization. We're using processes, but we have to make sure that we apply to them, that we're using them, and that we put continuous improvement. We're using the continual improvement phase to constantly look how can we make sure that this process, this best practice is really suitable for your organization. So this is what we do in normal life. Adopt, adapt, and apply. But we were here to talk about service management. And like I said earlier on, it's more service management nowadays than IT service management. What we see is that a lot of organizations provide services and they're using IT to provide those services. So the link between services and IT is becoming much more closer. And what does service management really means? Well, if you go to the book, what you see is that service management is a set of specialized organizational capabilities for enabling value to customers. And we do this in the form of services. IT service management is just the application of service management to IT environments. So it's good to understand that we want to provide value to customers, and we do this by services. Well, the question which can be raised right now is, okay, but what then is value? Well, value itself, it's the perceived benefit, usefulness, and importance of something. And it can be a good, can be a service, but it's the perceived benefit. And the ones who is judging if something is value or not, that's the customer or the consumer, as we call it nowadays. So it's not that Jayan or that which organization you work for decide, okay, this is really value to our customers. No, it's always the customer itself that can say, okay, is this value for me or not? And the reason when something becomes value is when you can realize your outcomes. So if we look at a big university, what's the outcome they want to achieve? Probably not that there is a network. Now, the network is a mean to get somewhere. And that somewhere is probably that students has to be able to study, or that researchers can do research. This is the reason why you are providing those services. So if we look at the value itself, there are a few elements which is highly of influence of the perception of value. And this is cost, speed, and quality. There's always a balance. How much does it cost? How quick can I use it? And what's the good quality of it? I was recently in a restaurant and I saw those three words on a big visual, and it said, okay, you can only choose 2 out of 3. So we can deliver it very fast and have a good quality, but then it's going to cost you quite a lot. We can do it really cheap and fast, but don't expect lots of the quality. Or we can deliver it very quickly and a good quality, but then, well, again, it's going to cost you. This is not what our customers expect from us. They expect all 3, so it has to be balanced. And nowadays, in the world where we live right now in, is that the perception of speed and quality is really a high standard. People are using agile terms because the time to market is really important. If I, as a private person, buy a new laptop online, now if I do it before 10 o'clock in the evening, I will receive that laptop the next day. And then I come to the office and I want a new laptop, and it takes about 3 to 4 weeks. So that's also really good to understand that the perception is changing and time to market is really important. So we have to do our things in different ways to really get that high value that customers expect. Another thing which is important is that we do this by delivering services. And this is exactly what comes from the ITIL4 book. What is a service? It's a mean of enabling value co-creation by facilitating outcomes that customer wants to achieve without the customer having to manage specific costs and risks. So we want to do something, we want to provide a customer service so they will be able to achieve their outcome they want. And again, that can be that student or that researcher to do his research or to really study. And another thing is that I don't want, as a customer, I don't want to think about specific costs and risks. Now, that's all in the hands of the service provider. Another thing what struck me the first time I wrote this new description of a service, it had stated value co-creation. And that's something new within ITIL4. It's about value co-creation. So it's not only that we deliver something, but we really deeply want to know exactly what the customer wants. So it's something you do together. It's in co-creation. So we want to be able to deliver value, to really understand what the customer wants, and then co-create the services that the customers need. And this is not something we do right now, and it's not something we do for the first time, value creation, delivering services. But we see that the urgency for transformation in service management is really important right now. There's a really increase in demand for IT services. And a lot of organizations are really, coping with how can we deliver those services. So we see in general there's a decrease in IT capabilities. We see that the demand is really rising and increasing. So there's a risk gap, and we have to be aware of those risk gaps, and we have to make sure that we keep up to speed with what the market expects from us. And ITIL4 can help you doing this. So I have a few things I put on here, and these are common challenges which a lot of organizations face nowadays in IT environments. And what you see is a lack of alignment between value delivery. What is that value, and do we really understand the customer? Can we keep up with the pace of change that customers expect from us? How much time do we spend on just maintaining service levels, or do we have enough time to also innovate? We are masters in making things really complex. If we look at practices and procedures we're using, it's not helping organizations, it's making things more complex. Are we really collaborating, or do we see that there are silos within our organization? Do we know each other really well, or do we work next to each other? Is there a good communication, or is it really difficult to communicate what you want and to really understand also the demand of your customer. And what about the technical depth and the inefficiency of all those infrastructure things we bought in the last few years? Are they really efficient, or do we see that well, choices we make in the past are nowadays really not helping us, but us putting in a way of delivering that value? So if you see those 8 common challenges, I'm really wondering, and this is something I hope to get some feedback from you guys, how many of those 8 do you recognize within your own organization? Can you please put that in the chat box? So how many of those challenges do you now face in your organization? So I see Jakob is saying almost all. Yeah, varying degrees, but yeah, this is not something which is abnormal. We see it. Marina also says, yeah, many. Yeah, most. Okay, guys. Well, you are just a normal organization as any other organization in the world who's well dealing with those problems. Oh, thanks for your feedback, guys. Thank you very much. So, what then is a solution? Well, let's talk about ITIL. First, a really brief history of ITIL itself. ITIL is still nowadays also the most popular IT service management body of knowledge in the world. That means that it's a common language. A lot of people all over the world using ITIL, and I know exactly what we mean when we talk about incident management, problem management, change management, etc. And it's not that it's been discovered in the 2000s or something. No, it goes way back. And we see the first time that ITIL is mentioned, it's in the 1980s. It was the British government that started up with ITIL. And in the late 80s, the first ITIL books were published. In 2001, there was an introduction of ITIL4. And this is where Pink Elephant also comes into on the stage, because we were one of the first organizations that delivered trainings and that developed trainings around ITIL and brought it to the European market, and from there to the whole world. In 2007, there was a major improvement, which was ITIL4. And what we see is ITIL4 was still about separate processes. ITIL4 was looking at the life cycle of processes and the life cycle of services. And in 2011, continuous service improvement was updated, but then it was for about 8 years, it was silence. And the world was changing very quickly, but ITIL did not change with it until last February when ITIL4 was released. Not only did ITIL4 and did the world change, also the way that we are looking at service management. Think about the Agile Manifesto in February 2001. Think about the introduction of Lean within organizations, or how DevOps has changed our world. We're not only using ITIL right now to do service management, but we also need other practices like Agile, like DevOps, like Lean, and things that are helping us to deliver value to our customers. And the world has changed. So there is a big business need for IT service management, and especially ITIL4. Because if you look at today's world, almost every organization is a service organization. And almost every services are IT enabled. So I can't recall any organization that is not using IT. If it goes from the grocery on the corner of your street until the bank. I was last with an insurance company, said, no, we're no longer an insurance company. We're an IT organization that provides insurance services. And I think this is how the world has been changed. And then this next picture tells you something about why ITIL4 is so important. It's about the different industrial waves we had. The last industrial wave was from the 1970s, where we saw that automation, computers, the uses of electronics, which much more used. But if we look at today's world, we're talking about the Internet of Things. We talk about cloud solutions. We talk about artificial intelligence, things that really need a different way of looking at how we are using our services and how we are providing those services. And as I stated earlier on, today's world, it's not only about ITIL, it's about a combination with ITIL, Lean, SIAM, DevOps, Agile way of working. And what I like about ITIL4 is that it's not excluding those different practices, but it's embracing them. So what we see nowadays is within ITIL, we can use Lean, we can use Agile approaches, we can use DevOps approaches, and so on. So ITIL is no longer like a way of working and directing how you should work, but it's providing us a guidance. And how can we address those new management challenges? How can we utilize those modern new technologies like Internet of Things and artificial intelligence? And what I like about the picture next to it is that you see that it's a guidance. So there's different ways to reach your goal. And you can choose to use the blue one, but you can also say, no, wait, there is something going on the way there. There's a traffic jam or whatever. So I'm going to use an alternative route. This is also what ITIL does. It gives you the ability to change your route whenever it's needed to really deliver that value to the customer. And it's about system thinking. It's about understanding that the organization is no longer a few silos working together, but that every part of an organization works, interrelate, and interact with each other. So what's needed is that we have a holistic view, that we can see, okay, what is the end-to-end service? And that we also understand that it's a dynamic organization and it's no longer a process is not the solution. You have to think about other things, which we call value streams. Well, that brings me straight away to what ITIL4 is. It's about value streams and a service value system. What we see here is the new picture about how ITIL4 is set up. It starts off with opportunity. It can also be the demand straight away coming from the customer. And we have some principles that guide us. We still need governance and the way in which we should act. It gives us the ability to, through a service value chain, to really set up our processes and our practices. And it's about continuous improvement. And all together we work in the end to reach that value. So like I said earlier on, there were 7 guiding principles. And those 7 guiding principles are not only coming from ITIL, but here we can see that it's being influenced by DevOps, it's being influenced by Lean, it's being influenced by Agile working. One of the things is focus on value. Everybody within an organization should really focus on value. So everything you do, think about, okay, how does this value my customer? Another thing is that you can start off with a big bang solution, that we first really going to define what a new service looks like, but it's better just to progress iteratively and make uses of the feedback we can get from our customers by the small increments of the parts of the solution or the services that we're going to provide to them. Think and work holistically. Don't see it as a silo where you work in, but what is the impact also to other parts of the organization and also within the customer, and have a holistic end-to-end view, and that really would end up to really good user experience. And I like the blue one in the top corner, start where you are. It's not that you have to start off from scratch. Sometimes greenfield sounds really nice, but we already have processes in place. We also already have functions in place. You don't have to throw away everything. You can start where you are and think about how can we reuse some of those parts that we already built. Make sure that you really good collaborate with each other and that you promote visibility, because that really helps in the collaboration process. And don't make it too complex. Keep it simple, keep it practical. Again, we are used to making things really complex. It's a challenge to make things simple. And the last bit is optimize and automate. When we have optimized our processes, when we have optimized our services, then we can think about how we can automate it. So there's going to be less pressure on, for instance, a service desk to deal with incidents, but they can start off thinking, how can we innovate our services to our customers? So those are the 7 guiding principles, and during the training we will go really into depth to them. But now I will just keep it to this one. Another part which is quite important to understand is that within the service value system, there's a service value chain. And what this really means is that this is an operating model. It's an operating model for creating, delivery, and continue to improve your services. And the building blocks you can see within this model can be used flexible. And that means that we start off with engage, then we're going to think about, can we design it, what's needed for the design of this trend, for these services. Are we guided by the right governance of plans? Should we build it ourselves, or should we obtain it from someone else? And how we're going to do the delivery and support of the training, for the training of the services. And those building blocks can be used whenever you need to. And by this, we create value streams. And it can be different value streams for different customers. But this is what it's really about, not a way of dictating how you should do your incident management, but think about, what does my customer want and which of those building blocks do I need? Now, let's then look at what we can offer within from Pink Elephant to Géant. And this is the Géant ITIL curriculum. We came up with a path, and you are right now in the Why ITIL4 webinar. So this is live, this is where you are right now. And from this point, you have a few options. If you are new to ITIL, then it's good that you take the left option, which started off with an ITIL4 foundation. And somewhere in January, we are providing this here live in Amsterdam, a classroom-based training. Sorry?
Or in the UK.
Or in the UK, yeah. I was heard about Cambridge is also a possibility.
Yes, absolutely.
So location is not yet defined, but we are making sure that there is a classroom training available. Another option is the e-learning, which is available, but you can get the most out of this training during a face-to-face situation. And from that point on, there's going to be some other options. So if you have the ITIL4 foundation training, the options you can do is then go to in-depth trainings. Think about create, deliver, support, direct, plan, improve, high velocity IT. Well, I'm not going to bother you with all the different details. What we also going to provide is a serious business game. And this is called the Masterlander, which means that you're really going to experience what it is to make use of the value streams and how you can use those value streams to really deliver value to the customer. It's a really exciting story. And later on I have a few slides of it, but it's about, we're going to Mars, and we have to make sure that that Mars lander is making, we can get the most value out of that Mars lander. So it's a really exciting game we're going to play. If you already have enough credits, you're already an ITIL3 expert, then we also give you some opportunities to become an ITIL4 expert. So that is what we're going to talk about when you take the right corner and go from ITIL V3 to ITIL4. So in the certification scheme we have is that we are delivering ITIL4 foundation training. You can become an ITIL4 specialist, managing professional, strategic leader, and in the end probably also an ITIL master. But I must admit there are not a lot of masters all over the world. So perhaps that's, well, we'll just raise the bar. It is possible. It is possible. So the ITIL4 foundation, this is the ITIL4 certification scheme. And what you see in the lower bar, that's ITIL4 foundation. That's the starting point. And from that, you can make use of the specialist modules like create, deliver, support, drive stakeholder value, high velocity IT, all kind of trainings we're going to provide in the next coming months. Think about February, April, May, March, June. And those trainings will be available. And if you want to go to, if you've done all of those training modules, you can call yourself your ITIL managing professional. If you want to become an ITIL4 strategic leader, then you have to do the ITIL4 foundation, and then do the direct plan improve and digital and IT strategy modules. And then you become the strategic leader. So for those who are already an ITIL V3 expert, and that means that you have already enough points to call yourself an expert. You have done the managing across the life cycle, you have 17 points or more from your ITIL V3, then it's possible to do a shortcut. And this is the transition module managing professional. It's a 5-day course. And in those 5 days, we talk about ITIL foundation, create, deliver support, drive stakeholder value, and high velocity IT. And then you can do the exam to become the managing professional. 17 points. How do you know that you already have 70 points? Well, the most easy way of doing this is looking at, if you already done some trainings, look at all certificates you have. And if you think you have enough points, then probably it's also a good thing to look at our next webinar, which is coming Monday. And then we're going to talk about where can you find those points, how many points were which module was I done in the past, and how can I become a managing professional in a really quick and dirty way. So that's a possibility. Again, if I summarize, we will provide ITIL4 Foundation classroom and e-learning trainings. Depending on the amount of people that are gonna do this training, the location will be pronounced. The ITIL Managing Professional and Strategic Leader modules will be provided in 2020, starting off from February till hopefully somewhere in June, July. The Managing Professional is interesting for those who already have enough points to become a managing professional. And if you are on your way but you don't have exactly 17 points right now, it's also a possibility to gain those last points to get enough credits, 17 credits, to do the managing professional module. So if you have at least 10 ITIL credits so far, through e-learning you can do the other ITIL V3 specialist modules, and then make sure that you get to 17 points. And like I said, Moslander, really exciting game. It's about exploring, about experiencing how you can make use of ITIL4 in combination with Agile and with Lean and with DevOps to become the best in service delivery. And again, it's about the Moslander. So I hope to see you all at this game because it's really exciting. So what we've done so far, we talked about what ITIL4 is, where the business need comes from, why ITIL4 is really interesting for you guys to follow. We also explained there are a few ways in getting and gaining the knowledge. You can choose to start off with ITIL4 Foundation and then move on to the more in-depth modules. This is again the left way on your screen. It's also possible, if you already have enough points, to do a transition module. The Managing Professional module itself is interesting when you have 17 points or more. And if you have more than 10 points, I would really like to invite you to our next webinar, which is upcoming Monday, again at 12 o'clock. And somewhere, are we going to start with it or we're going to end with it? It's not quite sure yet, but somewhere we're going to do the business simulation game as well, the Moslander game. But Nadia or the Genial organization will keep you up to date with all the dates and with all the extra information you're going to need. So this was the presentation so far, and I hope that I can answer some questions if you have those questions.